on your marks, get set, and go ahead and forget about the Magic the Gathering set that came out literally today, because we also found out an awful lot about Aetherdrift today. Pioneer Masters released today and was completely overshadowed because in the weekly MTG, they gave us our first look at Aetherdrift. And, well, if you thought that maybe Karlov Manor or Thunder Junction were jumping the shark, well, there's sharks making jumps in this one. Yeah, this is possibly the silliest set we've seen, at least from what I have seen so far, outside of an unset, which are sets designed to be jokes. Aetherdrift is wacky races. It's fast and furious. Just look at the font that they have for the logo. And just look at the logo itself that's on the set. Yeah, it's a racing flag. This is a racing-themed set, and it's a silly racing-themed set. And in the first look that we were given today, we got to see the 10 different teams that are being represented. We get to hear a bit more about the history of the Girapur Grand Prix, and we learned some news about the name change of Kaladesh. I guess I'll start with that, because that's what I think a lot of people have been focusing on when I was talking about this earlier today on my stream. The Planeswalker's Guide to Aetherdrift. This came out right after the weekly MTG stream finished. In the weekly MTG stream, they gave us a little bit of a teaser, and they also talked about how Kaladesh is now Avishkar, which is very thematic because we're going to be driving some cars on Avishkar. Yeah, I know, bad puns from me. What else do you expect? The name change happened because in-universe, they were changing over governments, it's post-war, and they also had a giant revolt, Aether Revolt. That was a whole set. Outside of the Magic universe, this is happening because the Kala part of Kaladesh, I believe, was a slur. So they wanted to move away from it. This is not in English. This is in, I think, some Indian language. I'm not an expert on language. I hardly even speak English, and it's the only language that I know. So, yeah, that is the reason that the name was changed. So it is still the city of Girapur. It is on the plane Avishkar, and that is where the race is hosted and where it starts. And the race is called the Girapur Grand Prix. This is the second ever Girapur Grand Prix. The first one, we don't know what the prize was, but we know that it spanned about 10 different planes, and they were going in and out of Omen Paths. Some were stable, some were not stable, and it was just a weird race that I guess we'll learn more about when we get the rest of the Planeswalker's Guide. But this one goes on to 3 planes, and 2 of them we're very familiar with, and the other one we're not that familiar with. We have Avishkar, which is formerly Kaladesh. This is a futuristic city that is run on Aether. It has both nature, it has vehicles, it has giant robots. It's cool. We also have Amonkhet. Amonkhet is the fantasy Egypt, and fantasy Egypt has giant god monsters like Hazaret and the Scarab God and the Locust God. Those are the only 3 we know are alive, but apparently there's going to be more of them in the set. They teased there being more gods on Amonkhet that we previously had. So that's going on. Cool. I guess that they've reestablished themselves. I always thought that, like, after Bolas messed with Amonkhet, it was just kind of Hazaret leading them through the desert. I guess they've gotten better. And the third plane is Muragonda, the vanilla plane, with big dinosaurs and ooze on it. Do I know much else about Muragonda? No, I actually think that the art I saw today was more art of Muragonda than I had ever seen before. So sure, we're going to Muragonda. Awesome. There's going to be dinosaurs. They kind of hinted at there being a society there, but unless the society is of dinosaur men and ooze monsters, I'm probably not that interested. I kind of want this to be a wild plane, which means that some other people are probably going to go there and start harvesting resources because, I mean, if it's anything like Thunder Junction, there's got to be something there that other people want. So we got those 3 planes. I was actually really hoping that we were going to be going to Vryn, which is Jace's home plane. One of the pieces of art we had originally seen for Aetherdrift showed Vryn, and it showed the rings, the mage rings, but I guess I just didn't understand what I was looking at, so that's not what that is. But there was a story where Jace and Vraska go visit Jace's mom, and she helps heal Vraska after the Phyrexian invasion. I know, like, the Phyrexian invasion Probably should have killed more planeswalkers. They're all fine. Just some of them don't have sparks anymore, and some of them are all scarred up. But they're alive, as far as I can tell. Anyway, not going to Vryn. We're going to these 3 planes, and it's a big, exciting race. Since this is only the second time that it's happened, we don't know that much about the first. There is a big prize. They've got something absolutely massive to get people to participate. And the reason that they're trying to get people to participate is, and this is kind of weird, to establish that Avishkar is a plane that can do that kind of stuff. They want to be a hub world. They want to be the place you go to get to other places with all the Omen Paths open. Personally, I want the Omen Paths gone. I don't like them. I already had a problem with Planeswalkers making it so like, oh, your favorite character can show up here or here or here. And now it's like, well, your least favorite character can show up in even more places. They don't even have to be special. They just need to, like, I don't know, walk through a couple tunnels and then bam, they're at wherever they need to go. Hopefully these things collapse soon and I don't have to worry about them anymore. We already have, like, the Magic multiverse bleeding into other IP, so it's like, yeah, maybe a little less of that happening in Magic itself. Anyway, this is why I'm, in part, kind of upset about this set. It feels like it's another set where everybody's just wearing a costume. I'm fast and furious about how this is so Fast and the Furious. Speaking of which, I just watched the first movie for the first time, the first Fast and Furious movie. It's pretty cool. The car flip at the end is awesome. And I had never seen it before. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, go watch the end of that movie. There's a really cool stunt in it. Right, back to Aetherdrift, which is pretty much the same thing. We're gonna get silly cars. We got themed things. We have 10 teams. And I'm going to tell you about the 10 teams because they are outlined in this article. They actually didn't go over this at all in Weekly MTG. I was just sitting here on my stream, scrolling through this article like, oh my gosh, what am I looking at? What's going on here? Who are these people? Well, there's a bunch of people that we're familiar with and a bunch we're not familiar with. And some of them are from completely new places and planes. So I'm going to talk about the 10 teams, what I believe their color pairs are, and the prize. So the Aetherspark we had seen before, you kind of could guess what it was. It is a contained spark from a planeswalker. My personal guess is that it is Nahiri's spark because in the story, Nahiri's spark came out of her. It didn't dissolve like most despark planeswalkers. She already had it out of her because she had removed it from herself to make a big like terraforming machine while she was a Phyrexian. So yeah, that might be her spark because it was already outside of her and she literally dropped it when a Johnny confronted her. She dropped it. She dropped her spark. She's like, oh no, there it goes. Well, somebody must have picked it up, put it into this bauble. I don't actually know if it's her spark. That's just me theorizing. And now everybody's racing for the prize. And the Aetherspark, as described in this article, is not actually like this big, super important thing. It's more of a trophy because everybody can go through Omen Paths. But we know that Nissa, desparked, would like to have her spark back. Not having a spark is kind of driving her a little bit mad, and her girlfriend Chandra is going to try to win the Aetherspark so she can re-spark her girl. I personally don't think that Chandra and Nissa have good chemistry. I feel like they would really grate on each other very quickly because Chandra wants to go out and do stuff and Nissa does not. She wants to like hang out and do some nature stuff. And I get it. She's willing to make sacrifices for her partner. There's art of Chandra. She's doing the Akira drift on the motorcycle. Who let her drive? I wouldn't trust her behind the wheel of a car. I wouldn't trust her with anything that's a heavy piece of machinery. Right, anyway, the 10 teams. So these are the 10 teams that are racing through the Girapur Grand Prix to try to win the fancy spark. By the way, do we know if the spark can be put back into a planeswalker? No, but that's okay. Maybe it's just a funky little trinket. Maybe you can use it once and just teleport. It's described here as they have not tested it. They don't know the extent of its abilities. Anyways, the 10 teams, starting with what I believe is the Simic team. If there's 10 teams, it means there's one for each color pair. And that is the Aether Rangers. These are from Kaladesh, and being in blue-green means that they have these Vidalkans, they have elves, and it looks like they have some sort of greenery and wetness. Yeah, I know, it's a great description here. You can read through the descriptions of these teams and who is participating with each of these. It's kind of interesting to see who's working with who. So they had participated in the first year's events, and they are rivals with what I think is the Boros team, which we'll see below. But now we have the champions of Amonkhet. Since Amonkhet is a location of the race, they are also represented in the race. And I believe this is the Orzhov team, the black-white team. Black-white on Amonkhet are the colors of the undead. In this art here, we see undead snakes pulling a chariot. We see black and white motifs, and we see a zombie guy on the vehicle. So yeah, black-white makes sense to me. They want to win the race because they want to win the race. The Cloudspire Racing team, I believe this is a Boros team. The colors feel kind of is it, but I do think that this is the Boros team. They are the Cloudspire. This is where Chandra is going to be racing. They gotta go fast, and who goes faster than Boros? In our previous visit to Kaladesh, which has now changed names, but it was Kaladesh and Aether Revolt are the names of the sets. We had pilots, and most of those pilots were in red-white, and a lot of them were dwarves too, so I'm hoping we do see more dwarves in this set. As we look on, we're actually about to see what I think could be a hint at a future set. We know we're going to space soon, and here's the space we're going to. We've got the Guidelight Voyagers, who are part of the Medicant Core. They are a hive mind, they are mechanical beings, and I believe that they are probably artifact creatures who are Azorius, blue-white. So right now we've got a lot of the different teams representing these different color pairs with very different flavors happening. These are, you can kind of tell from the art, not similar to anything we've seen before in Magic outside of Universes Beyond sets. Now, if you told me this guy was from Fallout, I'd say, yeah, that feels right. He kind of looks a little more Borderlands to me, but I would accept if you told me this guy was a Fallout character and I didn't know he wasn't. They made their way through Avishkar, or to Avishkar through a random omen path, and they were a little disoriented, but now they're here. They want to race, and maybe they're trying to get the spark thing so they can go home. There's a lot of new, I guess, species and planes represented here that have left behind their homes for good, but these guys are wanderers, and maybe they just want to use this to keep wandering. I also don't know if, like, this hive mind has somebody behind it, or if they're just mechanical beings working in tandem. But I like robot guys. That's a cute little robot guy there. We'll see if we see more of those in our space set later on. They look like they would be on spaceships. Next up, this is where it starts getting really silly. I'm not going to go past this picture without saying the shark in bondage makes the car go faster, and so does the twerking ghost that's on top of the dash right there. Yeah, this is the speed demons. They're blue-black. Almost certainly going to be blue-black because they are representing spirits, ghosts, and demons. And the name of the group, the Speed Demons, is actually the name of the guy leading the group, whose name is literally the Speed Demon. There's going to be a card called the Speed Demon, and it's going to be a demon who drives cars. Great. Maybe these are ghost-powered cars. Maybe they use the torment of their captures, like that shark that's on the car, to go faster. Maybe that's their turbo boost. Maybe they just like tying sharks to things. We don't know that much, but we know that they're from Duskmourn. Hey, we were just there. And we know they have a lot of super modern stuff, so I guess this muscle car that has a demon face and a skull on it and a twerking ghost and a shark tied to it and a big muscle man wearing a leather jacket. This is from Duskmourn. And they are representing Valgavoth, though Valgavoth is not there. If they win the prize goes to Valgavoth, and Valgavoth, to try to win the prize, has also sent Winter with Loot. So Loot, if you don't know, he's the little guy, he's a map to a multiverse, and he might help them cheat at the race because he knows things about navigation that other people don't. And Winter wants to win the race, so he will win his freedom. If he loses, I assume he will just continuously get tormented by Valgavoth. I honestly thought that Winter's doom was kind of sealed at the end of the Duskmourn set because he failed to hold up a deal with Valgavoth because the people he brought to be his sacrifices managed to escape I guess not. He did get eaten by Valgavoth. Like, he got absorbed into the house. But he's back. So Winter will be in this set. The Speed Demon will be in this set. And I guess Loot will be in this set. So that's representing Dimir. We got the ghost cars. And then we have the Goblin Rocketeers. I'm not entirely sure of the colors for these guys, but I'm pretty sure it's Gruul. It's red-green, because that's the color goblins tend to be. And these guys are goblins from a plane we've never heard of before. And they worship Boost God. They are from some sort of place where gotta go fast. You gotta channel the powers of gotta go fast. And they believe in Boost God, which maybe I'm not saying it right because it's in all caps. Maybe it's more about Boost God. This is what will let them live on shiny and chrome as they punch it and try to win. I think mostly for the sake of winning. They're really just happy to be participating in the race. And yeah, I think that they look goofy. They kind of look like gremlins with their silly hair here. But they will show up in a lot of the art. I have a feeling they're going to be a bit of a comic relief. You can see their car is kind of exploding as they drive it. But since goblins tend to be red, secondarily green, and sometimes in black, I think red-green makes sense for the Goblin Rocketeers. And I know that, like, this feels like it could also be Is It. A lot of these feel like they could be Is It. But I'm pretty sure that the Is It group is the Sharks that's coming up later. We also have the Alacrian Quickbeasts. Yeah, all right. Oh, I should also mention that Duretti is working with those goblins, so great. They're goblins. Even if they're from different planes, all goblins and kin. The Alacrian Quickbeasts, they're Selesnya. They're green-white. Just literally look at the card art they've shown me here. It is green and white. He's got green-white checkers on his winged wolf beast. So the Quickbeasts, the thing that this guy is riding, they feed on Aether. They are from Alacria, which is a plane that we do not know much about, but apparently you can ride the beasts. And I'm wondering if these mean that there's going to be both vehicles and mounts in the set, continuing Selesnya being the color for mounts and mount synergy as it was in Thunder Junction, where the mounts were first introduced. I think that these are probably going to have a bit more beasts and animals. They feel like they're going to be doing Selesnya stuff, and they're probably going to be involved in some way in trying to get the Aetherspark for travel. Why not? Maybe it's a trophy to them. We just know that they're from far away. But we have Caradora and Lagarin. Those might be the two represented in the picture up here. The ones leading the pack. They are not originally a bonded pair, but I guess they're a bonded pair now. Yay, they get to hang out together and go racing. Magic the Gathering. This next one is the Golgari group, the Speedbrood. Somebody in my chat called them the Speeders, like spiders, and I thought that would have been funny. They're a bunch of insect people. They're bugs, and they drive bug cars. I don't know if the bug cars are alive or if they just look like bugs. It could be both. They're also from a plane that we've never seen before. The Speedbrood, gotta go fast. We don't know their actual name. It says they crew living vehicles, but some of them look less living than others in the art that we had seen. The Speedbrood vehicles are bugs. The people who ride them are bugs. And the reason we don't quite know their name is because nobody can talk to them because they don't speak whatever common language is on the rest of the multiverse. Probably because they're bugs. It's cute, I guess. I don't know. I have a soft spot for bug guys, but it does really hone in on the silliness of the set that we have the bug people riding the bug cars. Next, we have Street Sharks. I'm sorry, the Keelhaulers. They're Street Sharks. The Keelhaulers are pirates. They are in Is It colors. And before you say, Amy, how do you know they're in Is It colors? Okay, so like they have to be in blue, right? Because they're the shark people, like we saw in Big Fig Bouncer, about Big Fin Bouncer and Lone Shark. But also, we saw some more art here on this little Aetherdrift splash, and they have a flag, and the flag is red and blue. Also, Chandra's car is red and white. This is how I'm getting clues about this stuff. I know a lot of it's guesswork, but I'm doing my best to guess things correctly so I can tell you about them. The Keelhaulers are fish people. They're kind of like the fishmen of One Piece. They are 100% street sharks. We've seen a couple shark guys. We've also seen this crab pirate in the background. Maybe he's a shrimp. Not entirely sure. But it's a fish guy, and I guess he, unlike most of these guys, he's got pants. Maybe all of them have pants, and they just don't like wearing shirts. They're giant fishmen. They came through an omen path to Avishkar. They set up in their shores, and the name of the species is, I guess, the Chordatans. They're fishmen. I can't take them seriously. Like, I opened a big fin bouncer. It's a common, so it's not like it's unusual. But I gave it to my partner who likes street sharks, and he was like, oh my god, a street shark. How come it's not legendary? I want a street shark commander. If we get a tie-in for street sharks, I'll be a little upset. If we get a tie-in for Speed Racer, I'll be a little less upset because that kind of feels like it fits the theme. If we get a tie-in with Vin Diesel's face on it, I don't know what I'm gonna think. There's cars. It kind of works. We had Jurassic Park for Lost Caverns of Ixalan because there's dinosaurs, so this wouldn't be the weirdest tie-in that we got. Anyway, yes, these are the Keelhaulers. They are working with Kari Zev because she's also a pirate. And that's also why I think that they are blue and red, because Kari Zev is in red, and that means Ragavan is going to show up too. So we have Monkey. We love Monkey. And finally, we have the Endriders. It's Mad Max. They're not even hiding it. In the description, they mention the Endriders hail from Gastal, a dying plain crossed by mounted scavengers and nomads who roar across its permanently sunset-washed landscapes, seeking rare oases to settle or raid. Water, food, and peace are in short supply, but at the death of their homeworld, gas and oil were plentiful. With nothing left but the open road and a bottomless tank of fuel, the plane's population has taken their roaring machines to chase glory ahead and leave the dead behind. Yeah, okay, they're Rakdos colors, they're black, red, and they're Mad Max. I mean, I like the Mad Max franchise. It's got cool desert car stuff. I know a guy who goes out to the desert every year in Australia and dresses up in his Mad Max apocalypse gear, and they race around weird custom cars. He'd probably think the Endriders are really cool looking. There's a lot of goblins exploding in this art, by the way. I'm noticing that these goblins are not having a good time in a lot of the different pieces that they've shown here. Both on the Keelhaulers and on the Endriders, there is some goblin explosion going on, which is what goblins tend to do. They do tend to explode. So Gastal is a dying plane. These people are trying to leave that plane. As many of them could get through the omen paths. It sounds like they already went through the omen paths, and now they're just vibing in other places. So I guess they want the sparks so they can keep driving places and traveling. We'll just say that they're tourists that don't have a home because they destroyed it for gasoline. So those are the 10 different color pairs, the 10 different teams that are all racing. They all have these notable characters. Well, some of them just have new characters, but it looks like there's going to be a lot of legendary creatures that we've seen before in different forms. There's probably going to be a bunch of vehicles, possibly some mounts, and it's a good first look at Aetherdrift. And for anybody who's wondering when does this set come out, February 14th is when it comes out in paper, and it comes out in Arena. They gave us a little calendar down here on the 11th with the early access event, I believe, on the 2nd. February 2nd. So it's happening really, really early that we're getting this early access event. It's happening on a Sunday instead of the usual Thursday. So, okay, cool. Happy Valentine's Day. It's time for fish racing cars. This set is upsetting to me because I want Magic the Gathering to take itself more seriously and develop its own story without purely leaning into tropes. And maybe it's just because we had a year where it was like one after the other after the other. We had them wearing detective hats, then we had them wearing cowboy gear, then they turned into cute little animals, and then they were in 80s horror movies, and now they're racing. Yeah, racing. I don't know, it feels like it's hard to tell a story when you're more focused on the aesthetics, and I'm okay with, like, trying to do world building from the aesthetic up, but I don't think it actually does much. It always feels really shallow to me. Duskborn to me felt kind of shallow. It felt like there were a lot of things going on and they didn't really mesh together that well. Also, a lot of people have brought up to me that this set is going to be the return of MSRP, which means that Wizards of the Coast sets a suggested price. And it is also the beginning of them only giving 30 packs in play booster boxes. So they're reducing the MSRP. I don't know what the actual cost is on the back end for the people who are buying it from stores. They're reducing the cost and they're reducing the number of packs. But this to me feels like it could be the start of some shrinkflation. Sure, they reduce the cost now, but the cost will probably go back up soon. One of the arguments I've heard for this change in the number of packs is if you are drafting and you are allotting for prize packs, this is a better number of packs. But if you are just drafting, you want things to be in multiples of 8, so you just buy boxes and you grab 8 at a time. And I guess also quantities of 6. This works fine for quantities of 6 because, 6 times 5, but you don't ever do sealed with 5 people because that makes for weird matchmaking. I guess like one guy can like sit off to the side and drink and watch movies while the other people play, and it's like, all right, who won? I'm playing you next. I've definitely done that before when it's like we have 7 people to draft and it's like, okay, we'll do what we can. Somebody's sitting out for a round. So yeah, there's the summary of the colors, the things being represented, the planes being represented, and the change to the name of a plane. I hope the set is mechanically good, like how Thunder Junction was, because I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna like the story, but maybe you will. Thanks for watching me rant about absolutely nothing, and have a great day.